All right, 319. I bet Aaron's rushing to finish his slides too. That's where everybody is. They're sitting on pins and needles to see the end of that presentation.
It was a good presentation. I was actually upset I had to leave early.
Yeah, it was.
I watched the recording.
I learned something new every time.
Yeah, I'll never tell Aaron that. It was a good presentation. I'll never say it to his face.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Dan's here. Alex here. Alex, this session's for you. I know you're a numbers geek like me. Anybody who loves numbers and reporting and deep data.
Should I leave this session, Dave? Is that what you tried to tell me?
Absolutely not.
Is this a little over my head?
No, not at all. I'm not talking meteorology formulas or anything here.
Yeah, that sounded like a personal attack. So again, just for anyone that is hopping on our session and you've just left Aaron's big meeting, this session is going to be more focused for our supplier partners. So if you are a distributor, you are more than welcome to stay with us. But to be honest, one of those other breakout sessions is probably going to be a little more relevant, a little more bang for your buck, rather than this one.
I think it's a lot of, super fans of Joe too that are probably here. I'm just guessing.
You're going to make me blush, Dave. I'm not a guy that blushes well. All right, I think we're good to go. Do you think, Dave, or should we give everyone a few extra seconds?
It looks like everybody's coming in now. So Aaron and Catherine's session must be over, and we should be good to go.
Perfect. I just want to thank Matthew for being a super fan of the mustache. Did it all for you, Matt. So just to welcome you all to our session. So this one is actually going to be more on, like Dave said, it's going to be more on the analytics side of things. So we're actually going to be doing more of a deep dive into your insights data. So if you've ever gone into commonsku, you've probably explored the insights feed. I'm actually going to describe, really where we're getting those data fields from. So really with that basic understanding, Dave is then going to walk us through some of those new fancier tools that everyone now has access to. If you were to log into commonsku and you checked out your dashboards. Really talking about data and analytics, it can be somewhat overwhelming if you don't actually know where we're really pulling that information from. So really with that in mind, some insights into your insights, you need to know that we actually have 3 different fields of information that we would pull into that feed for you. Just obviously be aware, in case you didn't know this already, that that information is specific to your company and your products. The first 2 I want to take us look at is going to be the pre-sale information. So that's going to be things that are within an ideation stage on commonsku for our distributors. As I keep saying, if you've ever explored that insights feed that is on your homepage, you probably would have noticed that we pull in 2 different things regarding your products, that being when your items are being presented, as well as when they are being quoted. I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, Joe, those are exactly the same words. You probably just Google searched the synonym for presented and found quoted. That might be the case. I'm joking. That's actually representing 2 different form types that we have on commonsku for the distributor. That's with our presentations and our estimates. For you to actually understand what the difference is between those form types and what that means for you in your insights feed, let's actually take a look at what presentations are. I've made that reference to it being an ideation form, and as I said, that is a pre-sale stage. Really on commonsku for that distributor, a presentation is a simple way for them to upload multiple different ideas. So whether they're pulling that information from ESP, Distributor Central, maybe you have your products hosted on Sage, it just means that for that distributor, we can pull your product information into their presentation. Just to point out here as well, we looked at this in the previous breakout, it's also a way for them to pull from your collections. So if you are taking the time to build out some fantastic collections, you're being creative, you're being selective, you're really thinking about what it is that you're presenting, it just makes it a lot more streamlined for our distributors to be using your items. With that in mind, so really as they're adding in their products within that presentation stage, this is actually an interactive form type for that distributor and their end client. So in this case, you just got to think, in most cases, if you ever see your items being presented, assume other products from different suppliers are also being presented. Because this is an interactive form for that user, what they're going to be able to do is add in personal comments, really trying to gauge with their end client, well, which items do they want to see more information on? Although you can't see these kinds of conversations, you need to assume that they're actually happening. So this is that distributor telling their client, and in this case, let me know if you need more information on this product. Could be that they didn't find that information on your website, or it could just be a way to actually prompt that client to give their feedback. But with that in mind, what it gives that end client the ability to do is also leave their comments. I thought this was really appropriate that I had Mark Graham ask for samples of chocolate, which is pretty bang on.
That's pretty appropriate.
But you need to assume that this kind of conversation is happening between distributor and client. So in this case, can we get a sample? Well, if that distributor doesn't know that you guys offer samples, maybe they didn't find it on your website, or maybe they're new to using you, they're going to have to then track that down, whether they're calling, emailing, or they're maybe going to promote another product because they know that for a fact on those other items. With that in mind, that is a presentation. Next form type on, so when you see items being quoted, that would be our estimates. Now, that's actually a logical step from a presentation to be converted into that later stage. But don't count your chickens before they've hatched. If you see items being quoted, don't assume that you're in the next leg of this competition. Okay, some distributors actually skip the presentations altogether, starting their projects from an estimate. The real only difference between those two different form types is that they can actually start to build it out with more information. So when you see items being quoted, it just means that that user has now been able to include sizes, colors, and they might also just want to spec out more pricing as far as decoration goes. Because you actually have insights into that information, you can see when items being presented and quoted in real time. So along the lines of them being interactive for the end user, what you can actually do with that information is start to add more value to your products. Now, again, in case you've never explored this, go to your homepage, check out Insights. Because it's live as it is happening, that feed is constantly going to be refreshing. You can actually see when your products are within that stage with their clients. In this case, adding more value could just be that you're actually offering services you know might already be listed on your website. Or it could also be listed on ESP or Sage that you actually offer this as a service. The other things that you could really do to add value, well, maybe an introduction to yourself. You know what, in this case, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. The real benefit to this is that this is more information that they can then pass on to their end client. So if you're actually bridging that gap, preventing that user having to find information elsewhere or use other products, you're actually saying, here's our information right now. You can tell your client this immediate minute. That's actually a video I found of Aaron, 1990. In case you want to look, he's going to hate that I said that.
He hasn't changed.
What else? He looks exactly the same. That's actually how he works. Just thumbs up. What else? Well, through your insights feed, we're not just showing you when your products are being presented, but we're also giving you another data field, and that is the event type of the project. The event type is actually a requirement of the distributor. So there's no way that they can actually create a project without them actually including this first. What real benefit is that to you? Well, for you, having access to this information gives you the chance to actually show off your expertise, how often you've worked in those kind of events before, your previous projects. You can also show off any of your own items that you actually have a lot of expertise about. What I'm really trying to get at, as far as you showing off how many projects you've done in the past, is let's say you've actually got an event you use one of those products for. It's not on your website, it's not on ESP or Sage or Distributor Central. You do have the ability to upload your own custom images to the Insights feed. If that's an image of an item being used in real time, well, they can actually pass it on to the client. You know what? This is it in real life. This is how it works, rather than it being just a stock image. Okay, just using Insights a little differently, having that touch point with our distributors. The third data field is going to be when your purchase orders are submitted. So As we see items being quoted, we see them being presented, we're also going to be showing you when they've created a purchase order for your products. This is actually a really good way for you to be tracking the success of you leaving value to these comments. So liking a purchase order just means that you're keeping track that I'm watching this. If there's any issues with this order, I can actually help you immediately. That distributor is actually going to know that you've liked that purchase order. And if you've ever done a training session with me, I usually try and tell people, don't just like your products. That is very confusing. But on the offside, like the purchase orders because it lets them know that you are following it. How can you really increase your insights activity? Well, it's fairly straightforward. Okay, you're going to need to be more active on commonsku, whether that is posting to our community, you're actually engaging with our users, or you're adding more value to the insights feed. Don't limit yourself. Feel free to jump into any conversation that is on the community. So don't feel that you have to always suggest products. You could also use it as a chance to, again, show off your expertise within our industry. Last thing, this really ties into our previous session, and that is to build and promote your collections. The more that our distributors know that you are actually very active on our platform, you're actually putting in that time to build out collections, you're actually posting it, not only in-app, but outside, just means that you are going to be a champion of our system. Dave, we're going to do that smooth segue again.
That was awesome.
I'm going to stop sharing.
You are.
Thanks, Dave. And you're going to take over. Smooth.
It was great. Yes, for sure. And I mean, most of you have been on commonsku for a while as supplier partners. You've been using the insights feed. You've seen it out there. And historically, you know that that was kind of the only reporting that we offered suppliers. So we've got some fun, new, exciting stuff that's launched since January that some of you are aware of, some are not. But really, and the importance is, what do you do with it? You know, why is it important? And a lot of the reporting that we've built out has come from requests from you guys. And we get a lot of feedback that some of these new reports and things we're doing is over and above what you see from some of the other communities out there. So we're always excited to build out new reports and things that help you guys reach the distributors, do more follow-up better, be more effective at growing sales. There's a lot of big picture, little picture stuff going on here. The reports that we're now providing are super important if you're doing, follow-up. You're nurturing some of these distributors that maybe haven't ordered from you before. You're trying to grow sales with both existing commonsku distributors and new commonsku distributors. You now have the ability to watch trends. We have suppliers now that are using these reports to oversee incentive programs. So they're incentivizing those distributors that are ordering from them more often, or those distributors that are presenting their products more often, to try and convert more of those into orders. And then some of the really interesting things that people are starting to try to do with this data is actually forecasting and inventory management, which gets really interesting. As a supplier, if you're seeing particular areas of your products being presented more often, and you can then key off additional buys for inventory, there's all kinds of operational benefits you can get out of doing this, in addition to the sales and marketing lead generation stuff. Alex just asked if the dashboards are available to all of the supplier users or only admin. It's a good question. You know off the top of your head, Joe?
I think it's available to everyone.
I think it is. I think as long as you're one of our connected supplier partners, I think everybody in your account has access to the dashboard. We'll double check that for you. This is what I mentioned before. So historically, the supplier side of commonsku, the reporting was fairly minimal. You can go download a list of distributor companies on commonsku from the distributors tab, and you had the insights feed. It's live, it's real time. There was no rolled up data, and I was constantly getting asked for some version of rolled up data of the insights data that was actually actionable and things you could do with it. And that's where the new reporting dashboard came out of. There's kind of two sides to the live piece, and then I'll talk about some other reports as well. And kind of like what Joe was talking about in terms of pre-sales and sales, the dashboard is split up that way as well. And if you haven't seen it yet, it just says dashboard or home or whatever it says up there on the left. Is it dashboard? Boy, I'm having a
dashboard.
There you go, dashboard. Your reporting dashboard. So there's a drop down where you could flip between pre-sales and sales. The sales data or the pre-sales data is based on the insights data that Joe was talking about, people presenting your products. And you can now see month over month, year over year, you can see top presented products, the percentage of our overall commonsku distributors that are actually presenting your products, and a breakdown by distributor as well. On the sales side, you can see POs being submitted through commonsku to you year over year, month over month. You can actually see the sales broken down by distributors. So, get a feel for which distributors are ordering from you the most. And top products all the way down to the rep level. We've never exposed rep level data before, so you can actually now see order data down to the client and order rep. Just a few quick screenshots of the dashboard here. When you first load this up, you're going to see a chart that says percentage of tenants with POs. That's a little formal in terms of a title. We'll come up with something better maybe someday. But percentage of tenants with POs is just the percent of our community that sent you POs in a given month. So, in this case, it looks like 30% of the commonsku distributors sent a PO to you in February. And then the chart below gives actual raw PO numbers. On the pre-sales side, the percentage of tenants engaged, again, very, very formal title. But again, what you're looking at is what percent of the commonsku community is presenting your products. And that's a number that you want to grow over time by doing some of the things with collections and such that Joe was talking about. You can now track that. The pink line is last year. The blue line is this year. Obviously, the March to the end of the year is flat because there's nothing there yet. But it just gives you some really interesting insight into the trends you're seeing. All of these graphs are also exportable to CSV if you want to take them out of the system and run with them. On the pre-sale side, you also have a chart that shows overall presentations, which distributors are presenting your products the most. Again, all exportable here. Most quoted products. Love my lovely fuzzing of the names here, so we don't know precisely which supplier you're looking at here unless you can really identify those tiny thumbnails. But just some really cool, interesting information on both the pre-sales and the sales side. The graphs on the sales side look very similar, but now we're looking at data based on purchase orders that have been created and sent to you through commonsku, both in percent of the community sending them, overall sales volume by month, which distributors are sending you the most orders, and what I mentioned before, down to the rep level now, which we've never had in the past. And in our world, just to identify order rep versus client rep on commonsku, order rep, client rep's typically the AE, the salesperson that owns that relationship, and the order rep could be an internal order coordinator that may be different at the larger distributors, different than the order rep. I'm also now sending you guys, or for our connected partners, a detailed report every month that kind of rolls up all this data into a separate report that gives you the distributor, the order rep, the client rep in terms of the pre-sales data, the product, and some of that really key information, such as industry type and event type. Super important stuff that you can be doing some cool stuff with. If you can start tagging, again, all of the customers by commonsku and by the types of events or industries they work in, some really cool stuff you can be doing there. In terms of the pre-sale data, all kinds of stuff you could be doing with that. You could be doing follow-up reach out. You can follow up with the individual reps now that you're seeing that data. You can manage incentive programs. Some of our suppliers are doing contests on, the client rep or the order rep that's doing the most presentations with their orders and giving out gift cards. There's all kinds of things you can be doing with that. Inventory planning is one that, historically our suppliers haven't thought much about with our data, but now they can. And we have suppliers that are looking at this as a way to predict inventory needs. Same on the sales side. We have some suppliers now that are doing incentive programs based on sales. So they're doing rebate programs back to specific reps based on their sales levels. And they can do all that now with the data we're providing in those detailed reports. And again, these reports are all, they're very new, right? So as you give us feedback, we will be adjusting these and providing you guys with additional pieces of data that you need. And we've already done that just in the last couple of weeks. This is where it gets really interesting. Again, I mentioned this, but this data now gives you a way to really help incentivize and drive some of these programs that you see suppliers doing to get more presentations created, more orders created, things like that. Wow, we went right to the wire again, Joe. We plan these presentations to a T.
We're so good.
The most important thing is, as I mentioned, if there's information that you're looking for that would make these reports even more useful, or on the dashboard or the generated Excel reports we're sending, let us know. Always happy to work with you to provide more information. It's been really fun to partner with you guys, our connected suppliers, to get this reporting dashboard live and to get these monthly reports live to really give you some more actionable data to build sales with our distributors. So thanks for joining us, Joe. Thank you. Thanks everybody else.
Thank you, Dave. If everyone wants to join the stage again.
Joe's pointing that way. I'm pointing this way. Which way are we going?
It could be anywhere.
Up there.
Look for the stage.
Go back to the main stage and we'll see you guys over there.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.